we're survival creatures and we want to keep expanding and stay alive as a species. That's why scare works so well as a marketing strategy and why the news leads with it. Because if you hear something scary, what's going wrong in the world, what war has started today, where's dangerous in my local area, you're going to tune in so you can avoid those threats. So that's the first place that news gets credit, and why they tend to shy away a lot of the times. 80% of it's negative, what's gone wrong, who's been murdered, versus the feel-good news stories, because they know people are more likely to tune into threats that they're afraid of. Study the news. Every night you get a free marketing masterclass on how to get attention, how to retain people's attention, and how to keep people coming back. So let's talk about those tactics, and you can take some of them and implement them into your own content marketing and also lead generation campaigns, but we want to do it ethically as well. If you're new here, my name's Witnish. Welcome to the Content Marketing Podcast. I'm a co-founder of Content Only. We create in the region of 500 original videos and written posts for our target clients every single month. You can join our free school community at contentonly.au and get access to step-by-step tutorials that show you how to implement some of the strategies that we talk about right here on the podcast. And I'll start with a backstory. I stopped watching the news several years ago, and for the reason that it very much promotes scarcity, fear tactics, what's wrong with the world, wars, outbreaks, coronaviruses, who's been murdered, car crashes. That's what the news leads with, but it's actually genius, and we need to give the news some respect because scare is what gets people to tune in. Now, we can use scarcity in marketing as one of the more ethical strategies, as long as it's genuine scarcity, to get people to take action and to move away from their pain faster. So unless you're in an industry where scare is really important to get people to change and move away or else their life could be destroyed, then let's look at scarcity as one of the first things that you can utilize. So putting timeframes or caps on how many people can come and work with you, deadlines, closing carts, closing applications, and sticking to your guns on that. When you stick with scarcity and you utilize it appropriately, you can create a lot of demand for your future offers and have people queuing up and actually waiting to take action because they missed out last time. So where can you implement scarcity in headlines? Hey, we literally only have 2 left, or closing carts, or only having a select number of people get started with your service or with your product that's available every single week. This is a really powerful strategy. Now, because as humans, we're survival creatures and we want to keep expanding and stay alive as a species, that's why scare works so well as a marketing strategy and why the news leads with it. Because if you hear something scary, what's going wrong in the world, what war has started today, where's dangerous in my local area, you're going to tune in so you can avoid those threats. So that's the first place that news gets credit, and why they tend to shy away a lot of the times. 80% of it's negative scare tactics, what's gone wrong, who's been murdered, versus the feel-good news stories, because they know people are more likely to tune into threats that they're afraid of than if it's all lovey-dovey positive things that are happening. So they do it out of necessity because they need the attention and the eyeballs, because they sell advertising and that's how they create their revenue streams. And if they don't use scare, then they're probably going to get less people tuning in. So you've got to give them credit for that. So I've got a list of notes here of some of their other tactics so I don't miss anything. So I'm just going to scan and have a look. Now, the next thing that I've spoken about on other podcast episodes, if you go back to the library, is open loops. And this is where you might see before the news starts, you're watching a game show and they'll say what's coming up in the news headlines. And that's to get you curious to tune in to the news that's coming up. Or you might go online and you'll see a headline, something's happened in your city today, watch the news. So they want to get you to a place where in your head you need closure. Well, what's happened in my city? What road can't I go to? Which part of the city has been devastated? Or where has this war broken out? You need closure in your mind once you hear that. So they use these open loop tactics in their headlines, what's coming up in the news. So you have to get closure and tune in. So when you see the news headlines or what's coming up, pay attention to it, because it's really, really good marketing strategy to get and hook in viewership for when that is on later in the day. And you can do that in your own marketing. So you can talk about things that you got coming up and you can build that anticipation around it. So before you release something to the marketplace, build some hype. Spend 7 days, 14 days, 30 days talking about it. Say, hey, this is coming, and get people excited. What's going to get them curious enough where they have to have closure on what it is and get to know all about it. So use open loops in your headlines. headlines where people are so curious they need to click play, but don't use clickbait where you don't deliver on what you've put in the headline. So if you've promised something or you've drawn attention to something, make sure you solve that or deliver on that in a way that's in line with your values. That's really, really important. Don't use it just to get clickbait, because if you don't get the retention and you don't deliver on the value, then the algorithm's going to recognize that and it's not going to show it to more people. You need people to click and you need them to stay with the content. That's how you actually get more reach, more views, because it keeps people on the platform. The next one is what I've just spoken about, headlines. So how can you use intrigue, curiosity more in your marketing, where people want to know what is the tactic, what is the secret, what is that one tip, what's the one thing that I can do? And if you can put that in with what you talk about in your lane of expertise, then that's going to help more people watch your videos and read your posts. So for example, if I was doing a video and I said one weird tip to convert trolls and haters into raving fans. Now I've got to deliver on that in the video and have a strategy for that. But if someone's dealing with trolls and haters and they see that headline, they're going to be curious about what is that weird thing that you do in order to deal with them. So that's a very specific example to myself, but just substitute your niche and your lane of expertise. And we have that formula, X steps to X results in X time frame, that you can always lean on. So 3 steps to lose 3 kilos of body fat in 30 days. So along those lines, and people are curious, well, what are those 3 steps if they want to lose those 3 kilos of body fat in that time frame? So there's a little bit of a framework for you when it comes to writing headlines. But the more intrigue, the more curiosity, and the more you can make it relevant to the target audience you're trying to reach, the more qualified eyeballs that you attract. And when you get more qualified eyeballs, they're more likely to become clients, because you're able to solve the problems that they have with much greater urgency, and they're the ones that make decisions faster and pay more as a byproduct. So keep it super relevant to your target audience, but how can you intrigue and get them curious enough that they're watching your videos or reading your posts? The next one is good looks, sexy humans. So a lot of news studios will have presenters that are very pleasing on the eye, on the aesthetics, and you can't really blame a company for doing that, because people are going to be more likely to tune in to see someone that they think is attractive, that they want to watch, than someone that is not attractive. So they got someone that's beautiful, male or female, delivering you all the scare. So you're tuning in to see them, their smiling face, whilst they're feeding you the scare and how you can survive and what you need to avoid. And I think that's very powerful. And the more you can take care of yourself and you can get in shape, be fit, healthy, then people are going to pull towards that. Then if you're out of shape, there's something unconsciously that can do to the brain when they look at you and they listen to your voice. So take care of yourself, get in shape, do the exercises, work out, and people will go, okay, this human being looks good. They're clearly taking care of themselves. I want to hear from them. And you combine that with your headlines and your great content marketing, and obviously the value you deliver in the videos and in the post, you got the perfect recipe for getting people to tune in to what you're doing as a business. The breaking news was spoken about. So during any stage of a news coverage, they turn to breaking news. So they know that people can anticipate getting something that's fresh off the plate. And this is genius, because that's one of the reasons why people tune in. It's like, yes, I know the general headlines, but what might be happening right now that I don't know about? And that can happen at any time during a coverage. So again, there's always this anticipation. Is something emerging that I'm unaware of? It happened yesterday when I was watching Sunrise. They were starting the news stories, and then someone had gotten themselves bogged on the beach in the water in Elwood, which is where you're not supposed to drive cars on the Australia Day public holiday. And they crossed straight to this story, and it was a bit of fun, but they shared it because they knew there's going to get people that are angry that someone was driving on the beach when they shouldn't be. Some people that, is this person's car going to get lodged underwater? Is it going to get stuck? So that was a great example where they broke the headlines, went to a live cross of something that was happening in real time. So the more news outlets do that, the more they let people know, hey, we've got you covered. If something's happening, you can trust us to deliver, to know everything you need to know right here and right now. So you can do pieces of content like that where you drop in really relevant emerging topics that are hot right now and stick to those areas. They're going to have conversation around them, because if you go to a place like Google Trends and find what's trending in the last 24 hours, the last 30 days, and you talk about some of those topics that are relevant to your target audience and your niche, they often spark conversation, particularly if they're controversial. And if you take a stance and opinion and back it up with some facts, invite other people to challenge it, whilst it can be a little bit confronting because you're going to have people coming at you with a different point of view, you're going to get a lot of interaction and a lot of engagement, and it's very strong content. Whenever you make an opinion or or take a stand against something, it's very powerful because you're inviting conflict, you're inviting confrontation, you're inviting the opposite to come and step in. And it's something I'm going to lean more into this year, is actually showcasing more of my stances and views on topics that do have polarizing opinions. So go to Google Trends, see what's trending in terms of conversation, news headlines, and jump on some of those topics from time to time, because that's where people are going to interact, start conversations, and people can also get a lens into your view of the world. And that's when they share the same values, the same beliefs, they make great clients. When someone agrees with your views and standpoints, then that's that more similarity, and more familiarity breeds more trust. And the opposite is true. If you have the polar opposite opinion to someone on a topic, then that creates friction, and that can mean that they're less likely to want to follow and work with you. But by taking a stance, you can track the right tribe, and the people that come and work with you are much more aligned and tend to have a lot more continuity and a lot more attention because of that. So breaking news, very powerful strategy. And we've spoken about the previews in the shows before. That's my final notes. I've already touched on that. So whenever you're watching another program, they go, hey, here's what's coming up. So like I said, use that in your marketing, in your content. Hey, we've got a new podcast episode coming. Hey, we're going to do this piece of content. You can add that onto the back end of content that's going out right now, so people are ready and tuned in for the next one. You say, hey, it's coming at 7 a.m. on Wednesday morning, as an example. So we want to drop the podcast and pieces of content at very similar times each week. So if you stick to a posting rhythm where, let's say, you post in the evening at 8 p.m, your audience starts to anticipate when your content's coming, and they'll tune in and get ready for it if it's really good content that gets their attention. So there's a really good argument for posting at the same times and training and conditioning your audience for when you're ready, because if you can get that interaction and retention straight away, it tells the algorithm, hey, people are responding to this content, show it to more people. So that's another strategy to drop in. Post your content, schedule it at similar times each week so people can anticipate and know when it's coming. Then as you build your audience and it gets bigger and bigger, your content gets better and better, people know that it's coming, and you get that fast uptake, which will just help you reach more people. So in summary, where can you use these tactics? It could be scarcity, scare tactics to get people to tune in and make faster decisions. You've got your open loops, creating intrigue and curiosity. Where can you use that in your advertising, in your content, to get more people to click and pay attention to what you're putting out there? Can you get in better shape or dress nicer, and or the opposite of that, if you want to be contrarian and go down a different route with how you present? Then people like to tune into weird and strange things as well. So you can present weirdly and strangely, that'll get people's attention, or work on how you show up and look physically, because that does have an impact as to whether people will give you their attention or not. Then there's breaking news. What can you share that's super relevant and jump on right now that can spark conversation, interaction, and engagement within your industry, within your niche, within your target clients? And then dropping in some previews, what's coming next, build anticipation for what's down the line so people are getting ready and excited about it. If you're new here, make sure that you subscribe or follow the show so you can catch each new episode on demand. And if you can leave a 5-star review, it helps more people discover the show. In fact, if you send me a picture of the 5-star review that you left via chat on social media, Aaron Witnish is where you can reach me, I'll send you a special gift for supporting the show. And then make sure you go to contentonly.au, join our school community, and get step-by-step tutorials how to implement some of the strategies that we talk about here on the podcast.